is your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices?
I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy.
When we look at how strong the economy is, it's because of the president's work.
We understand there are people that are hurting. I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything. I just don't have anything. Don't have anything. So I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I just don't have.
The political showdown that just took place was nothing short of legendary. Karoline Leavitt delivered an absolute masterclass in debate, completely dismantling Karine Jean-Pierre live on air. The energy was electric, the stakes were high, and the impact was undeniable. From the very beginning, it was clear that Leavitt was not here to play. She came armed with undeniable facts, relentless confidence, and a fearless attitude that left Jean-Pierre visibly shaken. This wasn't just a political discussion, it was a reckoning. As soon as the debate kicked off, Leavitt wasted no time in exposing the stark reality that millions of Americans face.
So if you think about the 737,000
every single day. She took aim at the crumbling economy, laying out how inflation has devastated middle-class families. Grocery bills have doubled, gas prices are unpredictable, and wages are failing to keep up. But instead of acknowledging these struggles, the administration continues to paint a false picture of progress. Jean-Pierre tried to sugarcoat the situation with pre-prepared talking points, but Leavitt wasn't having it. She countered every claim with hard-hitting facts, calling out the administration.
I just want to say a few words about how honored I am to be here with all of you today, in this role, in this room, standing behind this podium. I am obviously acutely aware that my presence at this podium represents a few firsts. I am a Black, gay, immigrant woman, the first of all three of those to hold this position. I would not be here today if it were not for generations of barrier-breaking people before me. I stand on their shoulders. If it were not for generations of barrier-breaking people before me, I would not be here.
Misleading statistics and cherry-picked data. The tension in the room escalated as Jean-Pierre fumbled, struggling to maintain control of the narrative. It was a brutal sight, one that resonated deeply with millions of Americans watching in real time. But the real turning point came when the topic shifted to border security. This is where Leavitt completely obliterated the White House's messaging. She didn't just talk in vague generalities, she brought receipts. She exposed the staggering rise in illegal crossings, the alarming crime statistics, and the direct impact this crisis is having on American communities.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. A lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces. And President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun. The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It is imperative that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible.
Jean-Pierre, visibly uncomfortable, attempted to brush it off as right-wing fear-mongering, but Leavitt wasn't backing down. She pressed harder, demanding real answers, not rehearsed political rhetoric. And that's when Jean-Pierre truly lost control of the debate. With no solid response, she was left scrambling, deflecting, and repeating the same hollow statements that Americans have heard countless times before. Social media erupted instantly. Clips of the exchange spread like wildfire, racking up millions of views within hours. Hashtags soared to the top of trending lists, and comment sections were flooded with reactions. People across the political spectrum weighed in, with even some liberal commentators admitting that Jean-Pierre was completely outclassed. What made this moment so powerful wasn't just that Leavitt won the debate, it was how she won. She didn't rely on theatrics. She didn't need to twist words. She simply spoke the truth, backed it up with facts, and refused to be intimidated. That's what set her apart.
This is not the norm. The norm is we do get an opportunity to ask the questions to the president about domestic and foreign policy issues in a formal setting at some point. And you choose that point, but we haven't had that opportunity in quite some time.
So I'll say this, it is also unprecedented that a president takes as many shouted questions as this president has, and he has.
I know the last
Okay.
administration, I'll tell you, almost every day on this
Okay,
building.
well, we'll certainly get the data and share that with all of you. I hear, John, I hear your question, I heard Zeke's question, I hear you. I hear you on the press conference, on a formal press conference.
This wasn't just another viral clip. This was a defining moment in political discourse. A moment where the scripted narratives of the administration collapsed under the weight of undeniable reality. A moment where millions of Americans finally felt like someone was speaking up for them. As the dust settles, one thing is clear. Karoline Leavitt didn't just debate Karine Jean-Pierre, she exposed her. And the impact of this moment will be felt for a long time to come. This was more than just a television moment. This was a wake-up call. And America heard it loud and clear. The political storm that started with Karoline Leavitt's takedown of Karine Jean-Pierre is far from over. The aftermath of this explosive exchange continues to send shockwaves through the political landscape, and the conversation is only heating up. People everywhere are still dissecting every moment of this debate, analyzing the implications, and demanding more accountability from the administration. Leavitt's fearless approach wasn't
500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country illegally?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws and therefore they are criminals as far as this administration goes. I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are.
just a one-time spectacle. It ignited a much larger discussion about the growing frustration among everyday Americans. Inflation, the border crisis, government overreach, these aren't just talking points. These are real issues affecting real people, and Leavitt's ability to articulate them so effectively is what made this moment so powerful. In the days following the debate, the White House scrambled to contain the damage. Press conferences, statements, and media spin were deployed in full force to downplay what had happened. But the people weren't buying it. Social media remained flooded with clips of Leavitt's bold rebuttals, and the mainstream media had no choice but to cover the fallout. Even networks that typically favor the administration couldn't ignore the undeniable fact that Jean-Pierre had been completely outmatched. Leavitt, riding the momentum of this viral moment, doubled down on her message.
White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night.
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
She made appearances on multiple platforms, reinforcing the key points that had resonated so strongly with the public. Her stance was clear: the American people deserve the truth, not scripted talking points designed to mislead them. The economy remained at the center of the discussion. Leavitt continued to break down the staggering cost increases that families are facing every single day. She brought up first-hand accounts from small business owners, truck drivers, and middle-class workers who have seen their expenses skyrocket while their incomes fail to keep up. Meanwhile, the White House continued to push the narrative that everything is improving. But no matter how many times they repeated it, the facts told a different story. Then came the immigration debate, which only intensified after the first exchange. Reports surfaced about new surges at the border, crime rates rising in key areas, and the government's inability to implement real solutions. Leavitt capitalized on these developments, using them to further expose the administration's failure to secure the country. More data was brought forward, more inconsistent.
The White House released a 6-page summary back in February. I don't think that was a full accounting necessarily. And Dr. O'Connor in that memo described the president as, quote, a healthy, active, robust 81-year-old male who remains fit to successfully execute the duties of the presidency, I think that is clearly not what the majority of Americans are seeing. And we have a new poll from CBS News that says 72% of registered voters say the president does not have the mental and cognitive health to serve as president. So are you saying that the majority of Americans are misguided and that they just need to trust Dr. O'Connor and take him at his word?
So a couple of things, and I want to say the president is feeling better, and you saw him last night, you saw him today, but he does indeed still have a cold. Look, I want to be very sensitive here, and I think it is important to be sensitive here. We understand how the American people are feeling. We get it. We do. And I do not want to take away from that. I'm not going to speak. I know that there was, you all did a poll, CNN did a poll. I'm not going to speak to every poll.
In the government's messaging were highlighted, and more pressure was applied to Jean-Pierre and her colleagues to provide real answers. As Leavitt's influence grew, so did the opposition. Predictably, left-wing commentators and political figures attempted to discredit her. They labeled her as extreme, accused her of pushing fear-mongering, and even tried to dismiss her arguments as misinformation. But none of these tactics worked. The public had already seen the debate. They had already heard the arguments. And most importantly, they were living the reality that Leavitt was describing. The attempts to silence or dismiss her only fueled the movement she was leading. It wasn't just conservatives rallying behind her, it was independents, moderates, and even some disillusioned Democrats who felt betrayed by an administration that promised solutions but delivered excuses. The debate had lifted the veil on what many people had suspected for a long time. The government wasn't being honest with them, and it was time to hold them accountable.
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just 1 year, and it was
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in 1 year, just to be clear.
In one report.
And it was in one report over multiple years, from 2015 to 2022.
So are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money, far too much, and that's why this administration... Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask a question.
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press who are clearly adamantly opposed to cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. But we know that American taxpayers at home who have been struggling with an inflationary crisis don't want their tax dollars going towards crazy DEI programs in countries overseas.
As this political battle raged on, Leavitt took it a step further. She began dissecting the administration's failures on a broader scale: energy policies, foreign relations, education, and more. The more she exposed, the more the people listened. The more she spoke, the more the opposition scrambled to shut her down. But instead of backing off, she pressed harder. She took the fight to energy policies, pointing out how the administration's regulations have crippled domestic production, driven gas prices up, and made America more dependent on foreign oil. She questioned why the government prioritized costly green initiatives while ignoring the immediate economic suffering of citizens. She demanded accountability for the reckless spending policies that have led to record national debt and financial instability. Leavitt also tackled the failures in foreign policy. She exposed the administration's weakness on the global stage, highlighting how adversaries had been emboldened under Biden's leadership. She pointed to recent diplomatic missteps, military blunders, and failed negotiations that had weakened America's standing in the world. She questioned why billions of taxpayer dollars were being sent overseas.
Extending the Abraham Accords. Mr. Witkoff, the president said he wants to...
Yeah, thank you. Can you direct traffic? Yeah, thanks.
Let's act like adults here. They are generously offering their time to answer your questions. You don't need to scream at them like a bunch of school children. Ouija, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
While veterans and struggling families were left behind. The education crisis became another focal point. Leavitt called out the failures of the public school system, the influence of radical ideologies in classrooms, and the lack of accountability for failing institutions. She stood up for parents, demanding that they have more control over their children's education and that schools focus on academic excellence instead of political indoctrination. Through it all, the people kept listening. Her message kept spreading. And the administration's attempts to discredit her only backfired, making her voice even louder. The continued fallout from this political showdown proved one thing: this was not just another debate. This was a pivotal moment in American politics. A moment that shifted the conversation.
So, what do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it
Peter, when GOP put forth a wait, no, you can't.
Karine?
I'm answering. Okay, we're gonna move
You're
on.
answering
No,
the question with the question? Okay.
no, we're moving on.
Karine,
Moving.
please.
In the back.
Now, you said you were stopping the flow at the border.
No.
10,000
I tried to
migrants.
answer, Peter. I
Okay.
tried to answer the question. You stopped me. Let's go.
I'm going to stay actually with the border. How many people coming into this country illegally is enough?
I know the numbers, but enough
Okay.
for what?
Enough just to stop the flow.
As I mentioned, this is a problem that's been around for some time now, for decades. A broken system.
Exposed the weaknesses in the administration's policies and empowered people to demand better. And as the discussion raged on, one thing became clear. Karoline Leavitt wasn't going anywhere. She had struck a nerve, and the impact of this moment was just the beginning of something much bigger. The media, desperate to control the narrative, tried shifting attention elsewhere. But it didn't work. More Americans than ever were waking up to the truth. More voters were asking hard questions. More people were refusing to accept the status quo. And Leavitt, she was just getting started. America had woken up. And this movement was only getting stronger. This was no longer just a political debate, it was a turning point. And as the pressure mounted, the administration was running out of excuses. The people were demanding answers. The people were demanding change. And the people were making it clear they would not be ignored any longer. The momentum from Karoline Leavitt's explosive debate with Karine Jean-Pierre.
He's been there. He's been to the border. And since he took office...
When did he go to the border?
Since he took office, the President Biden has been taking action to fix our immigration system and secure our border. But, that we're not seeing that from Republicans. We're not seeing a willingness to work with us on fixing a situation that's been around for decades now.
She was almost smiling when she said it too, KJP. Look, Ben Dominus joins me now. I mean, Ben, we know that Joe Biden hasn't been to the border. Why the bold-faced lie?
Jean-Pierre has not slowed down. If anything, it has only intensified, turning into a political wildfire that refuses to be contained. What started as a viral moment has transformed into a nationwide conversation about leadership, accountability, and the future of the country. The American people are no longer willing to accept vague answers, misleading statistics, and broken promises. They want the truth, and they want action. Leavitt has continued her crusade, refusing to back down despite relentless attacks from her opponents. Instead of shrinking under the pressure, she has expanded her platform, taking her message to new audiences and amplifying the voices of millions who feel ignored by the establishment. Every interview, every speech, and every public appearance only strengthens her position as one of the most fearless political figures of the moment. The more they try to silence her, the louder her message becomes. The economic crisis remains at the forefront of the debate. Families are struggling.
Your message for Americans who are concerned about the impact of things such as tariffs on prices.
I'm not going to stand up here and lie to you like my predecessor did about the state of our economy.
When we look at how strong the economy is, it's because of the president's work.
We understand there are people that are hurting. I can assure the American people that the president is very much focused on bringing down the cost of living crisis in this country that was created by the previous administration.
Businesses are closing, and the cost of living continues to rise. The administration's repeated claims of economic recovery are met with skepticism as everyday Americans see no improvement in their own lives. Leavitt does not just point out the problem, she presents solutions. She argues for tax cuts to relieve middle-class families, policies that empower small businesses, and a return to energy independence to lower fuel costs. She lays out a vision of economic stability, one where Americans can thrive rather than just survive. As the debate continues, another major issue takes center stage: national security. The border crisis has escalated, with record numbers of illegal crossings and growing concerns over national safety. Leavitt brings forth undeniable facts, statistics, reports, and first-hand accounts from Border Patrol agents who confirm that the situation is out of control. She asks the question,
Why is the president bragging today about gas prices?
Because it's gone down.
It's still $1.72 higher than when he took office.
It has come down in a way that we haven't seen its trajectory coming down in over a decade.
Still
and it is
$4 a gallon,
okay.
though. Is that good?
You want to talk to a nurse or a teacher
or a firefighter if having that little bit of breathing room doesn't matter to them?
Are nurses and teachers and firefighters saying gas prices are only $4.11?
Questions that the administration refuses to answer. Why are policies being implemented that weaken border enforcement? Why are resources being stretched thin while crime rates rise? Why is the government prioritizing political optics over the safety of its citizens? Leavitt's stance on these issues is clear, and that clarity is what resonates with people. She demands strong policies that protect American communities, hold criminals accountable, and ensure that immigration is legal, fair, and secure. The pushback against her is fierce, but she stands her ground, refusing to let her message be drowned out by media narratives designed to deflect from reality. Foreign policy also becomes a major focal point. Under the current administration, America's global standing has weakened. Allies have grown wary, adversaries have become emboldened, and military strength has been questioned. Leavitt raises the concerns that many Americans share. Why has leadership on the world stage become passive? Why are billions in taxpayer dollars being sent to foreign governments while domestic issues go unresolved? She calls for a renewed commitment to strength, diplomacy backed by power.
I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I don't have anything. We don't have anything. I just don't have anything. Don't have anything. So I don't have anything. 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 I just don't have anything. I just don't have.
Grows. More people are paying attention, more are asking questions, and more are demanding real change. The media attempts to dismiss her as extreme, but the facts speak louder than any label they try to place on her. The reality that millions of Americans live every day is proof that her message is grounded in truth. The political establishment is being forced to acknowledge what they hoped to ignore. The people are awake, engaged, and unwilling to settle for the status quo. Leavitt's rise is not just about one debate, one moment, or one viral clip. It is about a shift in the political landscape. It is about a movement that refuses to be silenced. This is not the end of the story. This is just the beginning. The pressure on the administration is mounting. The calls for change are growing louder. And Karoline Leavitt has made one thing absolutely clear. She is here to fight for the American people, and she is not going anywhere. The battle for truth, accountability, and leadership is far from over. The stakes are higher than ever, and the people are watching closely. The political establishment may try to resist, but the tide is turning. The future is not set in stone, but one thing is certain: the voice of the American people will not be ignored. The fight continues, and this movement is only getting stronger.